I had him on this podcast, I think the second or third episode of season 3. If you don't know Don Swindell, I can assure you that you know his voice. He wrote the Stoney and Wojo song. He was the Claude Lemieux character in all those Red Wing parodies. Very talented. And you're right. Not a lot of people would have fit in with the misfits that you guys turned out to start with, right?
Well, right. That's exactly right. You know, we all had varied backgrounds. I really think the ones who were really strong in radio were me, Greg, Jennifer Hammond, who I always just called Jennifer still, Jamie Samuelson, who was really pretty fresh out of Northwestern and working in Chicago, and then everybody had me, and Stoney was doing the Mitch Albom Show as his producer and his co-host, but he was more in television, a producer for Bernie at Channel 4, but it was a good mix. Rob Parker was obviously a journalist. We got a lot of print people. The real interesting thing I will tell you about that, when we started DFN, even though, you know, I was a trained journalist and media person and had been doing it for years either in Ann Arbor or Howell, I was sports director. I mean, I consider myself a reporter. You know, I'm a good reporter. And so, but we had no credibility with any of the journalists there. We were the new kids on the block, and we weren't really treated very well. Yet, I do think that our talent and the way we were willing to learn, and radio is personality driven, that we were able to gain a foothold rather quickly. And a lot of that was because of Greg and I understood the various elements of personality and entertainment radio. Yeah. So I would always apply journalistic principles, but I knew that, you know, I knew that I could hate the Lions, love the Red Wings, love the Tigers, pleasantly surprised by anything the Pistons do, and love Michigan. You know, I mean, I could take on different roles and do that. If I were a hardcore beat reporter or journalist, I could not do that. I would have to be, as Pat Caputo always says, you know, the king of objectivity. You know, so I would have to be that.
Well, in addition to you being, you know, people call you a Red Wing fan and whatever the case may be, you were just as notorious, you and Greg, for just being so damn critical of the Detroit Lions, and not that they didn't deserve it, but. And you mentioned early on that you felt, even though, you know, you were complaining about the play of these guys, you felt you needed to be in the room. What was it like to be in the room with these Lions who you're going in and just lambasting? Because you didn't mince words. You weren't politically correct. You told it how you felt it.
Oh, yeah. Well, you know, there's a couple of things. First of all, the Red Wings would play a lot of Sunday games at like 6 o'clock back then or something, or maybe 7, but they had Sunday early evening games. It wasn't the regular face-off time. And I can remember, and they were good, you know, so I can remember I would be on the air after Lions games and then go immediately to the Red Wing game. You know, DFN was just down Jefferson, and, you know, it was like a 5-minute drive. And so I would go there, and I can't tell you how many times the Red Wing players themselves would say driving into the game, they were listening to my Lions meltdowns and cracking up, you know, and, you know, and some of them making comparisons between Wayne Fontes and Jacques Demers, their coach, or I don't know if he was coach at the time. He probably wasn't, but, you know, like they had some similar traits, you know, but if I heard it once, I heard it a lot from Lion players that when they were home, and they had lost a game or even won, but usually lost, and let's be frank, they lost virtually all the time. So they couldn't wait to run out to their cars and listen to me, and they weren't sure if they wanted to beat the crap out of me or just were laughing so hard because I was so emotionally attached to, you know, I mean, I would say, you know, I can remember one I got a lot of people that still quote me, which is very, very odd. But one time I said, you know, tomorrow when he pulls up in his Porsche, Wayne Fontes should be met by 2 guards, escorted to his desk, clean it out, and then send him on his way. I'm kind of, you know,
it
was a little more graphic than that.
Well,